Welcome to the StockMatter.com studios here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your StockMatter Brian Johnson, making professional trading simple. And what a day for the bulls. I even got the open I wanted. We gapped up to just below the 1130 mark on the SPX, and I was waiting to see if it was going to start dropping from the start of the day, and it didn't do it. And I thought, uh-oh. And then I had to leave. I had to go work on stock or tax stuff all day long. And I thought, oh man, that isn't exactly what I wanted to see. I was looking for one of those gap ups and then run down, type of moves. And I thought, man, this is the a good scenario. A very good. Didn't work out. Man, strong move by the bulls today. So a lot of the shorts, I was in some shorts from way back when. Out today, I am not holding them. This was a strong move up. Looking at it as it looks like a wave three to me. I mean, it is just a really strong move here by the bulls today. Higher than what I would have expected to see today. Now, I talked last in Sunday's video. I did mention, seeing what I was seeing, I'm like, man, this thing could grind all week long, and that's what we got until today. We finally got a decent move for some indice plays if you wanted to go long. And it was shown here in the Dow. Anything up and over 10, boy, where did I have this starting? Now, I remember I made mention at the end of last week that the SPX and the NDX had broken up over the top of this, and I expected to see the same thing out of the Dow. And it was this is an opportunity where when the other two do it and the Dow doesn't, it gives you an opportunity to jump in on the Dow kind of ahead of the game. And so for those of you that got long over 10,350 and held most of the week, you had to sit through a lot of just boring choppiness most of the week, but boy, sure paid off by the end of the week. You made a good 200 points by the time the week was over with. Wouldn't even blame you if you happen to be holding over the weekend. I would not have done it. A little bit too aggressive for me, but still, a 200-point gain at the end of the week is a good play considering what we saw most of the week. We saw a move basically Monday and Friday, and that was about it. So a good play for those of you that held, and I'm not convinced this move to the upside is over yet. I think we're finishing up or still working on some sort of a wave 3 up and then maybe a pullback for wave 4 and then another one more wave back up again. And then what this has tended to do is, in these corrections, Elliott wave is absolutely useless. And once again, showing that Elliott wave is absolutely useless to try to count waves here because you just get a 5 up and then you get nothing on a pullback, and then you get another 5 up and then you get nothing on a pullback. So it's been really ugly to count. So, count it as it is, call it what it is, but we're still waiting now. I'm going to just sit back and let the bulls do what they do. I am actually turning from short-term bullish now, though, to short-term bearish. And I'm still longer-term bearish until I still need some more out of the bulls to be convinced that this is a more major move to the upside. So I'm short-term bearish and longer-term bearish coming into the weekend. But I'm stepping aside. I'm going to let the bulls work it out for themselves coming into next week. I'll talk more about it this weekend, but you can see the strong move here. My mention was above 10,350, then above 10,400, then above 10,500, and I wasn't convinced we'd make 10,500 today, or at least break above it. Sure enough, the bulls are doing what they want to do, just beating on the bears. So up and over 10,500 was another play. Lots of good entries to be taken on the Dow. You can see the huge move up and over this 10,500 mark right here. So this turned into, what did I mention? Yeah, a high base, guys. Remember these tall wicks, and I'm hearing stories about, oh, that's really bearish, that's really bearish. Well, not necessarily. Not until we break some lower levels, and we never did. We never came back down below the 50-day, and it took off from there. This was a high base, and it played itself just as it should have, and that is long to the bullish side. NDX on a 60-minute also blasting up and over. I said any push past this 1850, 1860 mark, and my next line in the sand was the 1880, 1890 mark. Today closing right at about the 1889 area, so that's working out very well. Looking at the daily on the NASDAQ, you can see a huge move again this week, starting with this move to the upside on Monday. Then once again, those two candles, potential reversal candles, but it is still a high base until otherwise proven, and that was shown over the last couple days. Still continuing to move back up. A retest of this high Gotta get. Why not? We right now, as strong as the market is, I would not be in the least bit surprised if we busted through the top of here and set new highs up here. From a weekly standpoint, now remember we looked at this doji and I said potential reversal doji. This is why it turned into not a reversal doji, it turned into a continuation doji. So big move up on the weekly for the Nasdaq. Next step, a break above this area here, and anything above about this 1900 area, look at 1950, between 1960 and 1970 probably, before we hit our heads again. From the 60-minute on the SPX, once again starting on Monday, here are the breaks of those overhead lines I had told you about. Those happened in the SPX and the NDX last week, did not happen in the Dow, and that's why I said the Dow was a great opportunity to make some money on this week, because it had not done that yet. And once it did break, it ran for a very long time. The SPX continued its onslaught up. This mentioned yesterday was that this is very still bullish behavior. We are moving sideways until we could get back below this. Job numbers come out today, gap up, move up to the 1130 area where it did look like it held for a very short time, but once it broke above it, bears said, whatever, I'm done. And they're out. They're out. And still, I don't think this move's over with. So we could see a little bit more movement coming into next week. Not sure I'm looking to play that last little teeny bit, but still could make for a couple of decent plays. We'll talk about it this weekend. SPX on a daily. Look at that big white candle blasting through there. Here it is. These two doji days here mentioned that those were potential reversals, but still it is a high base. Moving sideways, busted upwards. Once we got above 1130, you can see things start to pick up. This turned into a continuation doji as we saw in the NDX. Next stop, boy, 1150. Why not? And a break above that. We get above 1150. I'm not convinced we don't see this 200 week moving average. We could get way up into the 1200s. So it's a little ways off yet. Yes, I know. And, I'm not seeing the participation I wanted to up here, but very still, you got to hand it to the Bulls. They are pushing this thing up really well. I'll talk about it this weekend, what I think I'm looking at this week, coming into next week. I won't get into it right here. VIX confirming way down today. Look at that. VIX coming down to retest this area, meaning on the weekly we're below that big support area we're looking at here. So we could see, we continue this onslaught upwards, and we will see a retest of this dotted line way down here. I mean, no fear in the markets. They're not worried about nothing right now. Very content that the bulls are going to do their job and continue to push this thing upwards. Apple on a 60-minute, huge day in Apple.